This ain't no echo chamber. We're unlocking any chain. The devil's advocate speaking, cutting through the fog. Let us explain. Yeah.
Pull up, turn the volume, let the bass ignite. Devil's advocates, that's the channel. Together we fight. They ain't here to echo what the masses preach. They challenge beliefs, putting truth within reach. Flip the script, reverse the lens, ain't no fear to provoke. Unpopular opinions, watch the stagnant water smoke. They dissect the narrative, poke holes in the facade. Sharpening the mind, ain't no truth they'll disregard.
This ain't no echo chamber. We're unlocking any chain. Devil's advocate speaking, cutting through the fog. Let us explain.
See, the description hit hard, that's the blueprint to code. Not everyone likes it, but that's the path they strode. Challenging beliefs, that's the mission, the aim. Flipping tables on conventional, fanning intellectual flame. Stepping opposing view, not for conflicts embrace, but to sharpen the blade of truth. Leave no logical trace of error or bias or thoughts that just float. They dig to the core, let the arguments bloat with substance and reason, not just empty retort. They building up thinkers, a mental fortress of thought.
This ain't no echo chamber. We're unlocking any chain. Devil's advocate speaking, cutting through the fog. Let us explain.
You don't go by always being right, that's a stagnant pool. Growth comes from questioning, breaking every rigid rule. Honest conversations, bold questions, a few uncomfortable facts. They lay it all bare, no turning back, no looking back. Seeking clarity over debate, either way you win. They push you to understand where your own thoughts begin. So hit that subscribe button, let the knowledge unfurl. The devil's advocates,
Changing your whole world.
yeah, it might make you squirm, but that's how you transcend. Listen to the devil's advocates till the very end.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
All right, let's do an audio check. I'm simultaneously casting on two platforms right now on and hopefully, I think I've got the wrong I don't know. I got two streams going, Y and T. You know what they stand for. I'm on both platforms at the same time right now. I don't have an audio moderator on the T side, and unfortunately, because I don't have a moderator to help out and get in my ear and tell me when I'm missing stuff, it's really hard to see the chat over there. It's really tiny on my screen. I'll work on that. By the way, if you are following me on the T side of this platform and you want to help out with audio moderation, I could use some help. So let me know if you're available to do that. Talk to me by reaching out to me on the T platform in private message, if you will, if you want to do that. If you've been in the show before and you've seen how that works, I have a moderator who'll be on the microphone with me in my ear to tell me when there's a comment that I need to address, or maybe I want to address on the T side. In the meantime, we're going to focus tonight on Y comments, unfortunately, only because they're the only ones I can reliably kind of see on the fly right now. Tonight's topic is mostly, and I try to do lives on a regular basis. This, by the way, is normally the night that I go live with Pete Altieri from Murder Metal Mayhem. Pete, however, had something that he needed to do, and so we agreed not to do our regular show tonight. In addition, I have some company coming over, so I moved up the show to the 5 p.m., which normally would have been the time I go with Pete anyways. When I go by myself, I usually go at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I went ahead and kept the 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Pete, although Pete's not here, and it's just me all by myself and my little lonesome. Tonight's episode is mostly going to be me ranting about some personal thoughts, which I am not going to share a whole lot on screen. And if you're on the T side, you'll see my picture above for the website, which is devilsadvocates.info. On the Y side, I haven't put up anything on screen yet. I'll put that up in a second, but there's really only one thing I'm going to highlight. A lot of the discussion is going to talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and I'm not going to show videos or clips of that, in part because live video, when you show something of graphic nature or a shooting or whatever, that kind of thing, that can get you in big trouble. And so rather than even show clips and freeze frames and all that stuff on a live, I will keep that for pre-recorded stuff because YouTube treats it differently. And they don't have a problem, even if it has some graphic content, as long as you do it correctly, to be able to show that on the long form video that has been pre-recorded. But on the live, I want to be super careful of it. I know other people do show it, and so pardon me for not showing it tonight, but I can walk you through what I have to say verbally without having to go to that level. So let's talk a little bit about the situation. I had a video go. Well, first of all, Robin, are you there? Let's make sure you got audio. Do I have Robin?
I am here.
Nice to hear from you. And let me make sure that I've gone through a little bit. I know that as people were checking in, I was saying hi to the people in here. Lagertha's daughter says Skull from North Carolina. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so we had Penny, who's a regular. We've had one who's a regular, and a mod and a supporter and all those things. Nicola, by the way, Nicola got a free membership that expired. And like the cool thing we want to have happen, I think Nicola confirmed she didn't just get automatically rebuild for a subscription she didn't want and she just got for free. She had to actually go find how to resubscribe. So thank you, Nicola, by the way, for resubscribing to the show. That free membership, if you ever want to get one, by the way, you need to be watching the live, and you need to make sure that if you're on a website, down in the lower corner of YouTube, there's a little $ thing you can click on. One of those options inside the little menus there is something to the effect of, I want to be able to allow me to receive gift memberships or gifts. So you need to have that turned on. And sometimes when we have a big room or a hot topic, and there's a lot of new people in particular, one of my amazing supporters to this channel who believes in what we're doing will throw out some paid memberships that they themselves have to pay for, and they're paying for you to get a free look at members only content. Now, in case you're thinking I hide a lot of my stuff behind paywall, that's not true. I just do a lot of bonus stuff. And if you're a member, you know I have plenty of meat in the free area for anybody to have for free. But yes, I provide some bonus rants. Like, for example, I might rant for an hour on something and figure that's good enough for the public. If I want to rant for another 2 hours on it, I might do that as bonus rant. So if you want to hear the bonus rant, it's just extra, but the main stuff and the highlights, just like any good news story, all the important stuff is up in the front one. If you want to hear some extra rant or whatever, sometimes that happens in the bonus area. Lots of cool stuff in the bonus area. Plus you also get a free look ahead of videos that I scheduled to come out on a later day. Now, what I was getting to was I had a big, Jennifer Henry, thank you for coming in. By the way, welcome to, I see some new names, Bomber from the Way. By the way, always drop where you're coming in from. Dustin Miller talks about Mark Rosario is Mario. Thank you so much for bringing that up. While mostly we'll be focusing on Charlie Kirk and the shooting, and the shooter, Tyler Robinson, we are going to talk a little bit about Luigi Mangione as well. So thank you for that shout out. One of the questions on the thumbnail was the Kirk Luigi Mangione connection. Yes, some people are trying to make that connection. I want to clarify. Donald Trump is trying to make the connection between Tyler Robinson, the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and Luigi Mangione. That's the one thing I'm going to show you on screen. Again, is the White House statement where Trump talks about leftist, radical, Antifa, fascist, anti-fascists, which includes Luigi Mangione and Tyler Robinson. Luigi Mangione and Tyler Robinson should not be linked together in any way, shape, or form. Have we forgotten that Brian Thompson is not a political figure in any way, shape, or form? So that could not have been a political assassination against Brian Thompson, a private industry CEO of United Healthcare. That's not a political situation. And yet, Trump has a big announcement that he's going to wage war against leftist radicalism and call Luigi Mangione a leftist political radical. trying to link him in to the shooter of Charlie Kirk as if they're the same kind of thing. And again, let's not forget, Luigi Mangione has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. To be fair, Tyler Robinson also has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. Let's not forget that as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the video that went crazy today, and I will get to the questions and comments, because that's what a lot of this is just going to be some questions and comments from the video. And by the way, Robin, did you have something? I hear you kind of stumbling around in the background.
Stumbling? No, I'm not drunk yet. I'm
okay,
good.
okay. All right. Fantastic. So what I wanted to say, by the way, is so I put out a video with some thoughts, and this is what a lot of this appeal tonight is going to be. Please, 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 in America, let's get better at allowing people to ask questions, because I'm getting kicked in the teeth by people who are saying, oh my God, devil's advocates, your theory is complete horseshit. Do some research next time before you open your mouth, and all kinds of horrible shit. Now, granted, there's a lot of people who are like, wow, that's a really good theory. I never thought about that before. And so they're listening to it. But I get a lot of people telling me, please do research before you open your mouth. It's clear what you just said has clearly been discredited. Let me talk about what it is, because I want to explain to you what happened. In a video that I made this morning, which was called Patsy Cover Up, was talking about how I have reason to believe, based on a video that I had seen. And by the way, I get sent videos all day long, every day, all the time. It's crazy. I can't possibly. Sometimes I realize, you guys don't realize, that if I get 24 videos that are 1 hour long sent to me of, you need to watch this, there's only 24 hours in a day. I can't possibly watch that. Now, you don't know that 23 other people sent me a video that's 1 hour long saying, oh my God, devil's advocates, you must watch this one. Everybody thinks the video they send me is the one I must watch, and all the others can be put on hold. However, I can't watch everybody's must watch video because there's just not enough hours in the day. So I do my best. And by the way, Charlie Kirk, the Tyler Robinson, these are not my only cases. I've got 4 or 5 cases I'm following, including Idaho 4, Brian Koberger's case, which is not 100% done yet. We've got Lisk, the Long Island serial killer that we talk about. We've got Mickey Steins, the guy that shot the judge in the judge's chamber in Kentucky that I talk about, which I haven't talked about for a lot, but we will get talking about that later. And then we've got, Tyler Robinson, which you cannot talk. You cannot not talk about Charlie Kirk in America right now. It's the biggest thing that's happening. So how do you not talk about that if you're a true crime case and you believe in pointing out when mainstream media and law enforcement and the judicial system is failing us? And that's what's happening in the Charlie Kirk situation, in my opinion. Same story, different day, same story, different story. Like, saying it's the same story from the media and from the agenda shaping, but it's a different, different vehicle, a different shooting that we get to use to do the same shit we always do, which is shaping a narrative and telling you what to believe before you even get started. Now, on the video, I simply saw a new video. A lot of you have seen the video that suggested that the shot that took out Charlie Kirk in Utah came in at a side angle instead of straight on, and may have hit him in the head here and gone out the neck here. Now, this is a little graphic, by the way, and that's why we have a parental advisory on the screen over on the Y side. Unfortunately, on the T side, I don't have that parental advisory up there, but we will be talking about news, which includes an assassination. So we will be talking a little bit graphic, and it will get a little graphic, but it's not for sensational purposes. It's for understanding what happened. So what I want to point out to you is what I said, which made people kick me in the teeth. And I want to admit, I have problems with my own statement that I made. Having said that, let's back off a little bit on the rhetoric of I'm not allowed to have an opinion or think something when I see it until I've agreed with your opinion. That's bottom line what happened. So in the video, I talked about why I saw something that made me think that the bullet came in from up top, through the side and out the neck this way, and the bullet probably got lodged in the ground. They tore up the ground immediately after the shooting and paved over it before students came back to class. Therefore, if a bullet did get lodged in the ground, nobody's going to find it, because nobody can take metal detectors out there because they've cemented over the entire thing. And I thought that was odd. And I pointed out potential shooting locations, a specific one in particular that I thought would be a possible shooting location, and explained why I thought that shooting location was there. And then in comes everybody to tell me, oh my God, devil's advocates, you are a moron. That's not how it happened. It has been proven with 100% certainty that the shot came from the front. Watch so-and-so's video. And by the way, then followed that is, it has been proven the shot came from directly behind. Go watch so-and-so's video. It's been debunked. He was shot from behind. Make sure you watch that video. Another person says, you were right, devil's advocates. It came from the side. Go watch such as a video. It proves it was taken from the side. Then I get this. I mentioned how what looked like the entrance wound on one side of the head had a little spray or mist. I said, it looks like a spray or mist. I'm telling you what I think I saw. It looks to me that way. Oh my God, devil's advocates, you're an idiot. He had a necklace on. It's clearly his necklace. You can see it in so-and-so's video. Go watch it. You've been debunked 100%. It's in the video. You know what you see in that video? You see a string of a necklace. That's what you see, a string of a necklace. You cannot prove that what you saw up here was this pendant on the necklace. You see a string. There you go. You saw his string. Therefore, it's been debunked. It was, in fact, his necklace. Maybe, maybe not. Devil's advocates, you're a moron. It was the lapel mic. The lapel mic came off of his shirt, flew up. That's what you see up there in the head. You're an idiot. It's the lapel mic. Maybe, maybe not. Oh my God, devil's advocates, you're an idiot. He had an earpiece on. That flew out the side. That's what you're seeing in that streak. You're an idiot. Maybe, maybe not. How about we stop calling everybody idiots because they don't agree with what you saw in the video? It was simply a question. I simply said, look, this is what I'm seeing. It looks like a side shot. Now, granted, Jesse on Fire, most of you by now have really sent the hell out of this video on me, and it's great. I have nothing so far. I don't know a lot about Jesse on Fire, but I've watched enough of his videos to say that I love that guy's delivery. I love that guy's delivery very much. I hope that I can get on a show with him someday and have a discussion. Jesse on Fire had a new video that came out with an angle that seems to indicate the shot was taken from the front definitively. It's a great video. It's a video that I had not seen when I did my, hey, I think this came from the side. In fact, when I first saw it, I said, I think that shot came from the side. And I also don't believe, personally, I don't believe the miracle story that God somehow personally hardened his bones to make it so hard that the bullet wouldn't penetrate because God was saving people in the audience from the bullet going through, and therefore the bullet lodged in his neck. I do not buy that story. It sounds great, and it'll be repeated over and over again by a certain type of community as proof that that was a miracle. Apparently not a miracle enough to save Charlie Kirk, but a miracle to save random people in the audience. We'll set that aside for the moment. But the point I'm trying to make is, why don't we give each other a little bit of grace to ask questions without kicking each other in the teeth because you're an idiot, my theory just proved you're wrong. Because your theory also hasn't been proven true or not. In fact, if you, now to be fair, Jesse on Fire had, like I said, had a great video, which indicates that the shot could have come from the front, which is exactly the narrative. I still have problems with it for many, many reasons. One of which, and this is where it gets a little bit of graphic, but I thought I'd share it with you, and then we'll get to some questions. I'll try to look for some questions, is if that came from the front, I still don't understand how you get this side blowout, for example, and having an entrance wound somewhere else. The only way that this happens is if the bullet grazed through and went out out the other side. So therefore, how could it be lodged in bone? If it just grazed through and opened up some arteries or whatever on this side to cause what we saw, and again, this is a little graphic, if it just grazed through, that would be a straight on shot that would make sense to almost everything. Because again, and to get the little nuanced, if as it went through, it clipped his earpiece. Let's say he had an earpiece wrapped around this ear and the cord came around here and down through his shirt, as some people said. And when they said, hey, look, his shirt flies up this direction because the cord got yanked by the bullet or whatever, and so it yanked his whole shirt up with the cord. That's very, very possible the bullet could have struck that cord. It's one of 10 theories about what happened with Charlie Kirk's shirt. You realize everybody in America is slowing down and breaking down that video and telling you what they see, and everybody definitively has figured it out, and everybody else is a moron because you didn't come to the same conclusion they did. Where I'm going with it is, yes, it may have pulled the earpiece, and that might explain the shirt pulling up. But if that's where it came through, again, we have a problem with the blow through. How did the bullet get lodged in his neck if it didn't hit bone? If it hit bone and got lodged in there, then what bones did it hit? Did it hit his vertebrae? That's soft bone in the first place. I don't know how you stop that. Again, you can go with the miracle story. His bones were hardened by God, and therefore it didn't go through. But it sounded, a lot of people, when it first came out, and you were a moron if you didn't believe it, said that he was wearing a bulletproof vest and it hit the bulletproof vest and it ricocheted up and through his neck. That would make some sense if he was wearing a bulletproof vest. And so anybody who said he wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest was a moron. What we need to get better in America is stop calling each other morons because you don't agree with somebody else's theory. How about let's admit we all don't know. First of all, how about we admit this? How about we admit we all just want to know what really happened? Some of us, especially in this community, are not willing to accept the mainstream media's easy answer. It was a lone gunman from the roof straight on. Some of us are going, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So if we ask questions, how about treating people with a little grace and saying, okay, that's a really good question. maybe he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Let's take a look. Okay, here's the reason why I don't think he was wearing a bulletproof. That would be a nice civil conversation. Here's why I think he wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. You can see his nipples through his t-shirt. Yeah, that was literally a lot of the comments. People were saying, look, he wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. You can see his nipples through the t-shirt. If that's the case, let's have that discussion. Let's look at the t-shirt. Let's zoom in. Do you see his nipples? Do we agree it's his nipples? Okay, the point being is let's just have that conversation. Let's stop calling people morons because you didn't agree with their interpretation, and give somebody some grace when we, God forbid, think that possibly, it's just possible, that the media and the news might be lying to us about what happened, or even the feds might be lying. I know that's hard to believe because some of you believe that the media doesn't lie, that the feds don't lie, that there'd be no reason to lie, and it's exactly what they said it was. Some leftist wacko who waged war on the conservative party by killing a man of God, but thank God, God stopped the bullet from going through because it was a miracle, because Charlie Kirk was God's personal man on the thing. And I'm not trying to mock religion. I'm trying to say everyone has a freaking narrative in this case. So let's give each other the grace to say why we think that's the case. If you want to make that argument that this was a miracle by God to save him from a lone shooter on the roof, then let's make that case and have an open discussion and treat each other kindly while we have that conversation. So I've been getting kicked in the nuts all day long about the video and how I'm a moron because the canopy would have blocked the shot because I said it came, I didn't say, I said I think it could have come from the side. I've always thought that it came from the side. Here's the reason why I think it could be from the side. I gave my argument. People immediately started shutting it down. It didn't come from the side because the canopy would have blocked the view, which, by the way, is the same argument for people who said it couldn't have come from the front because the canopy would have blocked the view of the shooter on top of the roof as well. So pick your choice. And again, at the end of the day, how about we just drop some of the rhetoric and calling each other names and morons and saying, do your research, you're an idiot, and just go, here's why I don't think it came from the side. Or here's why I don't think it came from that high up. Here's why I think it came from down low. And I've heard some crazy ones, right? I don't want to say crazy, because to say crazy means I'm discrediting the thing. I'm not discrediting it. I'm just saying we have theories all over the place. It was two shooters at the same time. Maybe you hear two gunshots. It was a shooter that had a cell phone gun. The gun is actually, it's a gun that can fit into a cell phone. It looks like a cell phone and it fired a little tiny projectile. That's another one. He had a squib placed on his neck that blew up and it was a Hollywood stunt. It never really happened. He didn't die. It's just a squib that blew some blood out and then they quickly rushed him away. It's all a fake. It's all a whatever. He's actually still alive. That's another one. Oh, the projector behind him is a holograph projector. It projected a holograph image of Charlie Kirk sitting in a chair. He wasn't even there. It's complete theater for TV and it didn't even happen. That's another one. The machine behind him actually was a gun and it shot him from the back of the head and through the neck. And that's why it looks the way it did, because the projector is a gun that they immediately took down after the shooting. There's a million theories on the shooting and some of them sound pretty radical, but I don't even want to shut those down because, again, I will be kind and listen to you present that argument of why the projector was a gun, or why the guy who's holding a cell phone up, that cell phone's a gun, or why somebody did a quick shot from underneath their elbow without even looking at him and nailed him perfectly. That's another one of the theories I've heard. There's a million theories about what happened. What I do want to say at the end of the day is I do believe Charlie Kirk was assassinated for political reasons, but not by a leftist wacko and whatever. I think that is the story they want you to think. I think there was a lot of people who wanted Charlie Kirk dead. And so what bothers me, though, and in addition to all of that, is the narrative shaping that I was going to point out. The reason why the thumbnail says, is there a Charlie Kirk, Luigi Mangione connection? Did you hear recently? And by the way, I'm going to get right to the questions in a minute. Oh, freaking Tigo biddies just popped up on my screen. I can't handle it. Anyways, the point being is that, just recently, there was a shooting again involving ICE detainees, right? So immigration detainees and an immigration officer, and they were shot. And what did the first thing that everybody saw on the internet that I saw, first thing I saw about that shooting was a bullet casing with words inscribed on it. Just like as soon as Tyler Robinson allegedly dropped his gun that shooting Charlie Kirk, all those bullets all had engravings on the rifle. Who was the first person in America recently that they're saying engraved bullets? Luigi Mangione in New York. And so I said right off the bat, here they go. All of these shooters now all of a sudden have engravings on the bullets, or engravings or words on the bullet casings, and they're going to say that these people were all inspired by Luigi Mangione. Just like Shane Tomorrow, who went in and shot up supposedly an NFL headquarters type building or whatever. They blame Shane Tomorrow's shooting on inspired by Luigi Mangione. It has absolutely nothing to do with Brian Thompson's shooting, which again, I want to be careful. Luigi Mangione has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, and we don't even know if Luigi Mangione is actually the one who shot Brian Thompson. We haven't had a day not a day in court. I have a question coming from YouTube.
Yes. Actually, Cat's Mojo, this is her first live.
Woo! Cat's Mojo's first live. I've seen Cat's Mojo's name a lot, but first live, nice. So do we have a question from there? We're just going to hold on and wait for that.
And also, Nicola donated 5 memberships.
Nicola, awesome. Nicola, by the way, look at Nicola paying it forward. I have to say, this is cool. We're going to take a moment. Nicola paid it forward. I think Nicola got a free membership gifted to them. And then they just signed up again today and then immediately turned around and gifted 5 memberships to others, paying it forward. Like, hey, I got a free look. I'm going to give somebody else a free look. Fantastic. Thank you so much for the support on that as well. So I'm willing to talk about and entertain any questions and comments that you have about Charlie Kirk's theories, which one you have. If you want to bust my nuts a little bit about my video, that's insane. I've had an insane amount of traffic on that video, the most I've ever had. It's approaching 100,000 views on that video. It's going absolutely bonkers. I'm showing on screen, however, one thing before we get into the complete questions and answers part. This again was a White House statement put out on September 22nd, just a couple of days ago. President Trump isn't backing down from crushing radical left violence. He goes and basically says, I'm calling Antifa, the anti-fascist organization, a terrorist organization. That's what we do in this country when you want to use unprecedented law enforcement tactics against somebody. You call them a terrorist, and that gives you a whole bunch of extra stuff that the law normally would not allow you to do because they're terrorists. And so Donald Trump's going to now wage war on Antifa, saying that this is a group that's organized, and I'm going to go after them as a terrorist organization. We're going to levy unprecedented amount of new weapons against terrorism to fight terrorism. And then he goes and does this. Antifa, radical left violence. This is spiraling out of control in America. In 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a radical left terrorist. Just a little bit further down, in 2024, leftists celebrated Luigi Mangione for gunning down United Healthcare, Brian Thompson. There you go, linking the shootings together. And then in 2022, a violent mob invaded Turning Point USA and the University of New Mexico, forcing the speaker and others to barricade themselves. Finishing with the conclusion, this is a time that demands fearless and courageous leadership, not moral cowardice or indecision or the lack of fortitude to call what it is, an epidemic of radical left violence. Luigi Mangione being put in with political motivated attacks against political figures. And Brian Thompson, once again, must I add, is not a member of government. Brian Thompson was the CEO of a private company, United Healthcare, and is not a government agent and has no political ties other than maybe the government's in bed with Medicare and Medicaid administration through United Healthcare, but it's not a political figure. And in fact, a judge just recently ruled that Luigi Mangione wasn't a terrorist in the state case by saying Luigi Mangione, the state failed to provide any proof that Luigi Mangione was a terrorist. But right here in Donald Trump's statement is people like the shooter in Charlie Kirk's situation and Luigi Mangione are leftist terrorists. I'm going after terrorism. I'm going to take these people down. And he lists these people in the same bunch. That bothers me tremendously. And I've been trying to get that separated, and I get kicked in the teeth by my own followers on how I want to deal with that. So I will now open up the ground. Robin, if you can help me look at comments and questions that maybe people have. I will take comments and questions. Your theories, if you want, on the Charlie Kirk assassination, Donald Trump's linking of Mangione to the shooter Tyler Robinson. Are they the same? Do you feel like there's anything that connects it? Are the bullets inscribed in these things inspired by Luigi Mangione? And what proof do you have of that? Let's talk about these things if you have anything. Money ties. Oh, by the way, and Robin, make sure you ring the bell if you've got a question to throw up on there. But by the way, I've got a book series that I'm reading in depth that I feel informs my opinion about what happened to Charlie Kirk. The book, which I have never read before, and it's a 2-volume, giant volume set, a deep research by Whitney Webb, is called One Nation Under Blackmail. It talks about the rise of the mob, Israeli intelligence, U.S. intelligence, the mob corrupting intelligence agencies and being in bed with American politics and Israeli politics. And it leads to Jeffrey Epstein, and it leads to Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk was pressing to release the names of the people who went to Charlie Epstein's private island and his mansions and literally was in bed with Charlie Kirk and his organization of getting blackmail on political figures in the government and the presidency, former presidents and current presidents. That's on the list, allegedly, of who visited Charlie Kirk. Or sorry, Charlie Kirk, Jeffrey Epstein. And so he was pushing for that to be real. We got a question, Robin?
Yeah. Commonwealth, Commonwealth Corrupted was making a comment about how BB made a statement before anyone in the U.S. did about Kirk. Did you happen to see that?
BB. I think it's so whacked that BB made a statement before anyone in the U.S. did about Kirk. Have you heard that as well? I don't know who BB is. I heard about the who's BB? Who they're- okay. Yes, I saw that. I need to watch the clip again. I saw a clip or two of Netanyahu, and I need to watch it again for context. When I first saw it, I swear I was like, oh my God, that's AI. So I need to watch that again, to be fair. And yeah, that would be a really, really interesting take. And I'm not ready to comment on that, unfortunately, but thank you for the question. It's a great question. What else do we got here? I'm just looking through. I have to. What was this one? I can't say your username. I'm not going to do it. Have you heard about the rumor of Etsy witches that cast a spell on Charlie Kirk? I haven't, but it gave me an opportunity to highlight the humorous moment. But anyways, I have not heard of that. So maybe you can send me something or a summary of that. I would love to hear about that. And again, on the T side, I'm sorry that I can't watch the comments. Unfortunately, when I get a moderator on the T side, I will be able to help get that about more. I'm reading. Got a lot of talk about Mossad agents, Israeli intelligence, which again, the book that I'm reading, One Nation Under Blackmail, we just got into, as an aside, so there were some big names that are related to Charlie Kirk / Jeffrey Epstein. Well, mostly Jeffrey Epstein, the Bronfman family, the Wexner family, and their history and how they came up through the ranks and how they got tied with Epstein and what Epstein was doing, getting blackmail, in my opinion, on political figures, religious leaders, all kinds of people he had blackmail on, because he was providing services to people and then recording those services and then saying, hey, it would be a damn shame if it came out to your wife that you were doing this, or the nation that you were doing this. Wouldn't that be a shame? How about you play ball with what we want to do and pass whatever we want or whatever? That's the idea, that they were running a honeypot situation, which is basically blackmailing people with incriminating evidence and then saying, now that I own you, because you would, and anyways, the point being, I had a point with all that. The book, when One Nation Under Blackmail, is a great book series to listen to. I break down my favorite parts of each chapter and explain to you in simple terms. I call it running it through the universal translator, what the book means. I try to cut to the chase so you don't have to be bogged down with a million names, and try to explain to you what is the overall theme that this book is saying. So-and-so is in bed with so-and-so, is so-and-so in bed with so-and-so, and that led to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. And I'm kind of linking that through the way I see there's a background on that. Other comments or questions? T is going wild with visitors over there. I don't see comments, though. I don't see comments on the T side. Maybe it's because I've told everybody I can't read the comments anyways. And so they're like, hey, let's just not comment. Let's just watch. And that's cool. Thank you very much. When I get somebody, by the way, again, if you're a moderator and you have the ability to go on with somebody as a host and you're willing to do so, let me know. And then maybe I can hook you up with being able to help me out and be in my ear so that I can address questions on the T side that I might be missing. In the meantime, thank you, everybody. And by the way, I see people dropping some gifts over there on the T side. Thank you so much for the support. And by the way, also for both the Y side and the T side, let me say this. Let's make sure we still have questions. I do want to focus on Charlie Kirk, but I want to take a moment on the Luigi Mangione thing while we have a full house. Over on the T side, you may be familiar with an attorney by the name of Ali Benevento or Sean Kirk. Both of these are South Carolina attorneys, big followings on TikTok. Ali's been a friend of mine in the show, if you will, I should say. We became friends over over TikTok and my coverage of the Luigi Mangione case. She started getting into the Brian Koberger Idaho 4 case as well. Anyways, Allie and I and Sean Kent, who have a big following on TikTok, we're all going to do a show together. We were going to do it last night, but unfortunately, freaking attorneys, they get busy and shit happens. And so they ended up not being able to pull that off, but we plan on doing that very soon. So if you're into the Luigi Mangione story and you want to get into the legal documents and the discussion of Luigi's legal fight ahead of him, don't pay attention to that and be watching for that. I heard a bell ring. So you got a question, Robin?
Yeah, one has a question. How did the suspect get on the roof of the building?
Well, that's one of the big questions that we don't know, right? So I don't know, and I haven't been able to figure out from the campus. From what I heard originally, and this is another thing I got my teeth kicked in for, is how did the suspect get onto the roof of the building? I don't know. It indicates to me someone probably had some kind of prox access. I don't know. Although they indicated that he jumped off of one roof down onto a lower roof, which is part of the reason why I thought the shot was taken from the second tier. It was kind of like a 3-tiered building. So did he jump over from another adjoining building onto that building? I don't know. I haven't figured out exactly, but that's what, and again, asking questions like that, how did the shooter even get onto the roof, is part of it's okay to ask that question instead of saying, well, you're a moron. We know he got onto the roof because we saw him. That's not the question. The question is, how did he get onto the roof? It's a good question. I don't know. Don't know yet. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Somebody said they sent me an email and it would start with Atri. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I will look for that email. How did the suspects, plural? That's Mojo. How did the suspects, plural? You may have to reword that question for me because I'm not grammatically getting exactly what your question is. So if you can reword it for me, I'll try to take a shot at that. You know the video where the guy, one guy sees a guy on the roof before the shot. I'm aware of that conversation and a little bit as well, yes. But I don't have any comments on it right now. Seen George Webb walking around campus and there were stairs that went right up to the roof. Yeah, I did see George Webb a little bit walking the campus. So if he identified the stairwell where the shooter could have walked right up to the roof, then that would explain one's question, which is how do you get to the roof? I didn't see George. I didn't watch all of George Webb's. I didn't watch a lot of George Webb's walk of the campus. So if he found the stairwell where allegedly the shooter went onto the roof, then that would be it. So. Okay, here's a rephrasing of this thing. I think. How did the suspects, plural, get onto the roof of the building thinking there was another shooter? Yeah, well, I mean, how they got on the roof, that's the question that we've been asking, which, of course, someone's saying George Webb saw the staircase. Whether there were suspects, that is up for debate as well, right? So was there one or two shooters? Did two shots get fired or one? Was one firing a blank and the other one firing a silent gun? You know, that's another question. There's a lot of questions. And again, that brings us into the realm of conspiracy theory where people think, oh my God, you people, that's where they always go with this. You people will just sit around making up shit all day long, every day. And you never grow tired of making shit up. Well, what I will say is there's reasons to distrust the government, especially when you have a figure the likes of Charlie Kirk. So when you see anything that doesn't look right and there's reason to not trust the government, you start to go, okay, if I see something that doesn't quite look right, I'm going to just give it a little extra sniff test, which is what's happening right now, is people are giving it the sniff test. And maybe we've reached a point in America where the media has failed us so much that we don't trust anything they say. A certain portion of people don't trust anything the media tells them anymore. And they want a double check. And I think that's great, to be honest with you. I think it's fine to be critical of mainstream media, to be critical of the narrative, especially when they're so hard trying to push a narrative. Here's what's happened and here's how you should think about it. When they tell you how you should think about it, that's a warning flag that they're trying to shape public opinion. Here's what happened and here's how you should think about it. And shame on anyone who doesn't think the same way that we do. We will call them disgusting, vile human beings if you do not think exactly the way that you think. That's the way they're going with all this. If you even question this, you're a disgusting terrorist sympathizer and a leftist murderer sympathizer, whatever the case may be. You just say, if you don't agree that it happened exactly like we tell you, you are a disgusting, vile human being and should be shut down your freedom of speech taken away from you because you clearly can't think straight and you shouldn't have a voice. That's what they're trying to do. That narrative shaping should be fought against all day long, and that's part of what I do here. Do I think that the assassination is to further divide left versus right and push certain political agendas and laws? Absolutely. I mean, that is exactly what I'm showing on screen, or did show on screen. You know what? Did I even show it on the YouTube side, or did I just talk about it because it was on the other side? I don't think I even showed it on the. I didn't even show it. What a freak on the Y side. Anyways, let me show it now. That's what this White House commentary was, right? This is an attack from the left on Republicans and conservatives. That flat out says it right in the paragraph I've got here on Antifa's terror is part of the trend of radical left violence that has permeated this nation, incited by constant lies and vicious attacks against Republicans from unhinged Democrats and well-funded leftist organizations and their allies in the media. So they're claiming that the media and all these Democrats are waging war on the Republicans, and it's divisive and it's designed to point the fingers at two sides and make you look the wrong. In my opinion, it's look over there, look over there. Don't look at what really happened. Don't pay attention to what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Don't pay attention to why Charlie Kirk was wanting to expose what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Don't talk about that. Don't talk about why we've decided as Congress to not release the list of names for the umpteenth time. We can't release the list of names that visited Epstein, national security reasons. We can't. Of course, it's national security reasons. When your government is on the list of people who visited Lolita Express going to Jeffrey Epstein's island where he had underage girls, and you've got political figures in your government going there on the flight, of course it's a matter of national security, because you don't want your American public to find out your government goes to a private island with young girls and hangs out with Jeffrey Epstein and his young girls. Of course that's a matter of national security. But you know what? The American people should be a little pissed off about it. And apparently, if you have a lot of clout and a lot of power and you push for the American people finding out about it, maybe something horrible happens. Other comments, questions, concerns? I'll go back to full screen because there's no reason for us to sit there looking at that White House statement. So as we're kind of like winding down, I usually go about an hour. We're at 41 minutes. We got a couple 20. I could go for another 20 minutes. I can go for longer if I really wanted to, or we can go for less and wrap up early. I do want to say, by the way, for those of you who recently joined this channel and may not know what I'm all about, because I've had over 1,000 people join the channel on the Y side in the last 24 hours, because again, a video that gained nearly 100,000 views, you're going to get 1,000 followers from that. And it's huge, right? So there's a massive amount of people who are just trying to figure out, what exactly did I sign up for? I signed up for this guy Devil's Advocates because he made one video I thought was really cool. What is it all about? My channel, by the way, so that you can get a little bit of a focus, I focus on high profile cases and I use them to accentuate civil liberties issues, how mainstream media shapes narrative, how mainstream media lies to us about what happens. I'm critical of mainstream media, law enforcement, and the judicial process. However, I've got law enforcement who watch and support the channel. I've got attorneys, civil rights attorneys, criminal defense attorneys. Shit, I may even have a prosecutor lined up to come on. Anyways, I've got attorneys who will come on this show and talk about the law. I break down legal documents. I read things. By the way, in the Charlie Kirk assassination, by the way, going back to Charlie Kirk, there was a set of text messages or messages supposedly from Tyler Robinson and his roommate, and that's a whole nother thing, right? Saying certain things. Hey, this is Tyler Robinson here. I did the shooting. And some people were like, oh my God, this just looks fake. It can't be real. Like, who texts their boyfriend or girlfriend and says, hey, this is Tyler Robinson here? Like, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't start with, hi, Tyler Robinson here. So people were saying suspicious. And I'm like, yeah, because if you read what I did, and that's on my YouTube channel or on the Y side, if you will, sorry, TikTok for mentioning YouTube and both of you, I apologize. But the point being is that if you look at my video, I read the indictment of Tyler Robinson. I read it verbatim. What you found out is what the government and what the official record filed on court is of the text messages or the string back and forth between the alleged shooter and their partner isn't the same one that people are seeing on the internet all the time. So the screenshot that you see, hey, this is Tyler Robinson, guess what I did today? That's fake. Or at least it's not the official narrative, because we read the actual legal document of what was said. It was close. It was close, but it's not the same. Somebody's manipulated it using some AI, putting some extra words to make it to the point that people are like, I can't believe that even happened. And they're telling us this, they're telling us that's the text message string. No, they are not. Some people are, because it leads to click. It leads to people raging about it. I can't believe they fell for it. Who writes that way? Well, he didn't. Read the indictment. Read the actual indictment. That's one of the things that I do on my channel is I take the legal documents and say, what is the government's official position? This is where Tyler Robinson got in. This is where he was at such and such a time. This is what he did. And this is what he said. Official record and legal documents. That is the part that I want to address. Not a million speculative theories. What did the government say happened, and can it be proven that it happened that way? That's what I spend time focusing on. Let's talk about the indictment. Let's talk about the legal documents. Let's watch the process play out in the court system. We will analyze the actual court records when they reveal stuff and go, how come they're not telling us about this, but they're telling us about that? If that's the case in the legal document, why doesn't it match this? That's what we do. And it's especially big in the Luigi Mangione case. It was enormous in the Idaho 4 Brian Koberger case. It's what we do. So if you're new to the channel, that's part of the stuff that you can expect from me. By the way, it's so funny when I have some people say, you know what, other content creators get into the legal documents. Oh my God, do you know how many hours of legal documents and police reports I've read in my channel? Massive amounts. I've gone through massive amounts of police reports and legal documents. I do it all the time. But I also do a lot of videos just like this, where I don't have a legal document on screen. And so somebody sees it and they're like, you know, other content creators do the legal documents. I do too. I just also do a lot of this. All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for the last 15 minutes? One's dropping all these philosophical questions, like, what do legal experts say about free speech on campus in relation to this incident? What is the broader debate about what has been highlighted by this tragedy? Shit, man, that's philosophical. I love one to death, but and I realize these are big discussions, and we are having them in longer form videos, like in my videos. I keep wiping my eye, like I got something. I feel like I got something in the corner of my eye, which is why I'm doing this kind of weird shit all the time. Anyways, point being is that it's a great question. I don't know what the university is saying. Did you see the video of the kid that was supposedly talking about what he saw in the shooting, and they rush in and they shut him up before he can finish talking, and then he's like yelling at them to get off of him. That video, I think that was on Jesse on Fire, showed it, and he literally couldn't show it because YouTube would have called it disturbing, because they were wrestling over the, hey, get off me, and he's fighting him back, and that would be seen as violence. And so they can't. We're getting so pussified in a lot of ways in this country that we can't show a disagreement or somebody touching somebody, or you're showing violence on, which is funny. Consider we all just watched somebody get assassinated and watch his neck blow up on screen, and freaking children are watching that video. We're living in a time that I can't even explain the inconsistency. Go ahead, but there's a question from the Y side.
Wicked Good says, why can't the authorities just inform us if he had been shot in the back of the head or not? This wouldn't jeopardize their investigation.
Wicked. I'm going to repeat that for the T side. Wicked Good says, why can't the authorities just inform us if he had been shot in the back of the head or not? This would jeopardize their investigation. This wouldn't just jeopardize our investigation. Well, here's the thing. Officially, I think the government has told you, or authorities have told you, where he was shot from. They said it was from the front. That is their official statement, which is why they're not going to tell you he wasn't shot from 27 different other directions, because they told you where it was from. That's playing devil's advocates. I'm not trying to be snarky with you. What I'm saying is the answer to your question is they have told you where they think the shot was taken from. Now, on the positive side, Kash Patel, FBI director, did say, we are aware that there is a number of theories that the shot came from somewhere else, and we're looking into it. So that's kind of cool. At least they're acknowledging, hey, we know that there's other questions out there about maybe that shot didn't come from the front, and we are looking into it. Now, at the end of the day, me being a little bit of a pessimist says what they're end up going to do is they're going to say, we looked into it and there was nothing to it, and you can now rest assured that we looked into it. Because again, they have to acknowledge, we acknowledge that people are saying it came from other places. We're giving it every due diligence. And then at the end of the day, it'll say, we've looked into it and it didn't come from that direction. And to be fair, if it didn't come from that direction, that will be the conclusion. It doesn't mean it's a conspiracy if they tell you, hey, by the way, we concluded it came from the front. Maybe it did come from the front. I'm not saying it didn't come from the front. I'm just talking about, but they did say that they believe it came from the front. Right. What else do we got? Anything else? I had a question about this. So Cats Mojo says there are so many phones at the event filming and taking photos. I am surprised that they did not collect everyone's phone for more video footage. Where's all the footage? It's a great question. It's a question we ask all the time. For example, in the arrest of Luigi Mangione, there was phones in that McDonald's. Why didn't we see phones from everything? Now, a lot of times law enforcement will scoop up people's phones and take them in a matter of national security. I don't know if people's phones were confiscated, but yeah, you would think there'd be lots of phones. And in fact, I have seen some crowd footage. From different locations from people's phones. So I don't know that any conspiracy is afoot, that they have snagged up everybody's phones or whatever, but oftentimes if you're a person who believes in conspiracy theories, oftentimes if anyone has video footage that actually shows something other than the official narrative, you can be sure that phone will be confiscated, and due to national security, we'll never see it. That's how you keep the lid on the official story. Oops, somebody got a shooter that's actually firing the gun from this roof, and you can see the muzzle flash. Oops, that phone's been confiscated. Can't see it. National security issue, and therefore it'll just disappear to the aether. That's the way that usually works. But anyways. Hopefully that we're getting to a point where those videos just show up. But here's the problem. Those videos will show up, and now we're getting so good at AI, somebody can fake the videos. You have to be really, really careful today. AI is getting super good. You literally cannot even believe what you see with your own eyes anymore, whether that's coming from the media or coming from somebody who just spent a little time on Photoshop and made something happen that looked really cool. I've already seen videos online that I think have been manipulated from a tier of building nearby with the shrubbery. That one photo shows that there's not a glass partition somewhere where there was, and then another photo shows a glass partition clear as day, and it's like somebody actually created a Photoshop thing, putting a glass partition where there wasn't in another photo, or somebody removed it with the photo. Whatever the case may be, people are manipulating photos and then calling you a moron because, well, clearly this has been debunked. Look at this photo. That would be super easy for any freaking 15-year-old to edit with Photoshop. What else? Wicked Good says, it sounds like the FBI is just waiting to see all the footage to make itself known before they release their report, which is maybe true. I mean, a lot of times these should be an ongoing investigation. Again, Kash Patel did say that they are looking into the possibility of that the shot could have come from a different direction. So they're looking into it. Chappie Boss, it feels like I haven't seen Chappie for quite a while. Fairly new to this case. It's already jerking my blood pressure off. Chappie, God damn it. Chappie, phrasing. Anyways, Chappie, thank you so much for the gift and the sense of humor. You're always good for a laugh. It seems like I haven't seen you for a while. I don't know if you've been busy or if you just got burnt out for a while or whatever the case may be, but welcome back. Seems like I hadn't seen you for a little bit. Good to see you dropping and making me laugh tonight. And thank you for the gift of support. What else? Any other comments? I heard the FBI is wanting to close the case. Well, yeah. I mean, again, I think there's a good reason to believe that it didn't happen the way that they said. And there's conspirators that are involved and co-conspirators. And there's rumors of, we already know multiple people were arrested. One guy, literally George Zinn, and that guy shows up at multiple other George Zinn, look him up. The history of George Zinn and where he's always seems to be in the right place, literally yelled out, "I'm the shooter, shoot me, I'm the shooter." And he gets arrested and detained and wastes law enforcement time and literally tells them, "Hey, I just wanted to give time for the shooter to get away." Literally all that happened. I'm the shooter, drew law enforcement to him, made them waste time and said, "Hey, I was just letting the shooter get away." And they're like, "You know what? At the end of the day, we concluded he had no connection to the shooter." Maybe not. Again, did the shooter know? Because I mean, his argument's going to be, look, somebody killed Charlie Kirk and I thought that was a great thing. And so whoever did it, I just want to give them time. I don't even know who they are, but I just want to give them some time to get away. Maybe it did happen that way. But literally he said, "I'm trying to help the shooter get away." And then they say very, very quickly, there's no connection between him and the shooter. Well, there's a connection between him and the shooter. He just literally said, "I was trying to help the shooter get away." What will happen to George Zinn? I would love for all you internet sleuths out there who have extra time to find out and follow George Zinn's case. How long will George Zinn really spend behind the bars? How quickly will he be released? Follow his case and let me know how quickly George Zinn's out. I bet you he's out quickly. All right, you had a question?
One is making it rain out there with more memberships.
1-1 is coming into the house with free gifts. By the way, we've had Nicole now drop 5 gifts. We've had 1-1 drop 10 gifts. Not to belittle Nicole's gift of 5, because all of it is amazing. You guys, again, are super, super supporters of the channel. And by the way, I have to say, kudos to these people who are supporting the channel, because I have 4 or 5 good, strong cases that are very different from one another. So it takes some dedicated people who believe in what we're doing in this channel to support that, because it's not like they're just in love with one case. Like that, they're supporting a channel that covers multiple cases. In fact, that's the one thing that sometimes gets annoying. If you've got a favorite case, you're like, oh my God, Devil's Advocates, why aren't you talking about this case? It's a lot to keep up when there's multiple things going on in multiple cases. Right now, we've got multiple things going on in multiple cases, and I'm doing my best to be a full-time commentator to tell you what I see, because I see things differently. And again, I will have attorneys on to break down legal documents and stuff like that to again educate the public on how our legal system works. You get basically an education on the voir dire process, or what kind of defenses can be filed and what it means and how long do they have to respond to that. There's a lot of stuff you learn, even a little trivia like, why do we call something like Washington State or Oregon State, but we have the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? Why isn't it called the state of Pennsylvania? Why did we do trivia? We explain sometimes, hey, by the way, did you know why it's called the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania instead of the state of Pennsylvania? Those little things happen. So it's a cool station. I think we do a lot of cool things here. So hopefully you will give us a like, subscribe. By the way, right now, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the channel. Give us a little love. We are pushing, by the way, this channel on the Y side is very, very, very close, very, very close to being able to say that we're no longer a tiny channel. We're about to hit the 10,000 mark of 10,000 subscribers on the Y side. And when you do, you're officially no longer a small channel. You're a mid-sized channel. I'm planning a celebration, by the way. I'm planning a celebration for when we hit 10K, and we are very close now. So give us a little love if you're here and you haven't done it already. Give a free subscribe. Help us push over to that limit so we can start celebrating that. I can finally say, I'm no longer a little boy. I've reached the medium-sized club. That'd be cool. What else do we have? Oh, did somebody say Zinn was at the Las Vegas shooting? Please tell me George Zinn was not at the Vegas shooting. George Zinn was at 9/11 for the planes hitting the towers. George Zinn apparently called in something. I don't know if it was the Boston Marathon bombing or one that was another marathon bombing, but because was there more than one? That was the Boston? Anyways,
it was the Boston one.
It was the Boston Marathon. Yeah, George Zinn happens to always be in the right place at the right time. That mother sticker should be on your radar. He really should be on your radar. Why is George Zinn always in the right place at the right time for these major events? Ask yourself that. Things that make you go, George Zinn, how do you always seem to be at the right place at the right time for weird things to happen? Lucky says, thanks for the chat, DA. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Lucky, for dropping in. Hope you have a good evening. 6 degrees of George Zinn. You don't even need 6 degrees of George Zinn. He's directly related to multiple things. You don't even have to go 6 degrees. You can get 6, because to be fair, if you ever played the game 6 degrees, you can get to anybody in 6 degrees. But you don't have to do that with George Zinn. You can just put him pretty much at every place. All right. I think it's getting close to the time to wrap up. Again, last appeal. On the T side, if you have the ability to go verbal with somebody, like you have enough followers that you can go verbal with somebody, I am looking for some moderator help. If you like this channel and you're familiar with the channel and you want to help out, please send me a private message on TikTok. I'll get to that in the next day here or so. Tonight I have some company coming over, so I got to go join the life of the living or the land of the living or whatever the case may be and do something with some real people and not just on the screen. Not to say that you're not real people, because you are real people, for frick's sake. I'm talking to you. But the point being is that I'm going to go take a break and relax. I'll get to business in a little bit. If you're on the Y side, please help us push to that last little moment. 10K, big celebration for me. It means a lot. I started this a year ago. My goal going into this was hopefully to get to at the end of the year to be at that mid-sized channel, and we are on pace to hit that very soon. So
hey, it's AR's in the house.
AR, a convict's thoughts with AR Hayes, and he will help mod for me. Are you on the T side, by the way? I could probably use a little mod help on the Y side as well. AR Hayes, by the way, if you're not familiar with, he and I have gone on Pete Alturi's show, Murder, Metal, Mayhem. AR Hayes was talking about the Idaho 4 case with me or myself. What's the grammar on that? Myself or Pete, AR, and I. and myself. I need to go back to grammar school. The point being is that we've done some things together. So AR, it's good to see you. Really, really good to see you, man. Thanks for dropping into the show. Any other comments, questions before I wrap up? Because I'm just about out tonight. Oh yeah. So somebody pointed on the T side. I thought George Zinn was arrested for child photos on his phone. Yeah. By the way, ending on that thought, I thought it was weird. Hey, look, I'm the shooter and I have child photos on my phone. Arrest me. Super weird. Look into George Zinn just for shits and giggles. Look into George Zinn. It's an interesting story. All right, everybody. Thank you on that note. Much love, support, peace. Have a good evening, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. By the way, I have a sore tooth, and if I get a root canal tomorrow, I ain't talking to shit. I'm going to take the night off. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, I'll be on tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, my normal live time on Friday, unless I can't talk because my face looks like a balloon. We'll see how that goes. Have a good evening, everybody, and take it easy.